So we first see how does changing the size and shape of the carbon skeleton affect the drug activity. For example, you have a drug which has methylene groups, okay, or you are adding or decreasing methylene groups to a particular parent molecule. So when you add methylene groups, or when you will be adding methylene groups to that particular drug structure, you will see that the water solubility of the drug decreases, the lipophilicity of the drug will increase. Once the lipophilicity of the drug increases, automatically the drug will be easily transported through the various membranes in the body, okay, and also it will effectively and very well it will bind to the different receptors that are present in the body. So just by adding methylene groups, you are seeing that lipophilicity of the drug changes, its binding to the receptor changes, its transport through the different membranes is also changing, okay. However, you have to keep in mind, when you are changing the lipophilicity of the drug, if you are adding too many methylene molecules, you are decreasing its water solubility. So the drug will probably then saturate in your body and micelles will be formed, which will be very difficult to get metabolized from the body. So you will have a drug which is very difficult to be metabolized and to be excreted out from the body. So when you are designing a drug, when you are adding methylene groups, or when you are imparting more lipophilicity, you have to balance it out with the water solubility also. You cannot have a drug which has high lipophilicity and very less water solubility, because your drug is then going to get, or its metabolites are going to get saturated in your body. At the same time, you cannot have a very highly water soluble drug, otherwise you are going to see that the drug does not pass from membrane to membrane very easily. The absorption of the drug is going to be very difficult, and you probably will have to give a very large dose of the drug or a very frequent dose of the drug when you are prescribing such a highly water soluble drug, okay. Now one part we saw is we can add methylene groups. For example, you are adding CH2, CH2, CH2. So you have added 3 methyl groups or methylene groups to that particular parent molecule. Now on this CH2 group, you can have substitutions. Now if you are having substitutions, then that substituted part, it could be a nitrogen, it could be a sulfur, it could be a halogen, depending upon what it is, that also is going to affect the pharmacological property of that drug. If you take the case of halogens itself, then you will see that these halogens, which are of different types, that is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, depending upon which halogen you use, the drug pharmacological property changes, or the effectiveness of the drug, or what you call the potency of the drug could change, or by adding a particular halogen functional group, that is maybe probably iodine or fluorine, you could probably make the drug more toxic in nature, or it could be more having more adverse effects, okay. So it is not that only that you change the methylene side chain. You can have a substitution of the methylene on the methylene side chain, and because of the substitution you can have different types of effects on the parent molecule pharmacological properties, okay. You can take an example over here. The example is replacing sulfur on chlorpromazine with CH2CH2, that is a methylene chain, okay, and the replacement of sulfur with CH2CH2 gives you clomipyramine, and the activity, the pharmacological use of chlorpromazine and clomipyramine is completely different, okay. You can clomipyramine is an antidepressant, okay, and chlorpromazine is an antipsychotic agent. More or less it has the same effect, but there is a drastic change in the way it is going to affect your particular CNS activity. So all these examples, the structures of these examples are attached with this mail in slides. So probably in slide 1 you will be having the structure of clomipyramine as well as chlorpromazine, where you will see that the sulfur in chlorpromazine has been replaced by CH2CH2. So from an antipsychotic agent you are developing a antidepressing or antidepressant from a antipsychotic agent. Okay. Now we next move on to the degree of saturation. Degree of saturation means either you add a double bond or a triple bond, or you remove a double bond or a triple bond. If you recollect, in the 5th semester we did an example of diethylstilbestrol. Okay. Now what is this diethylstilbestrol? Go back to your 5th semester notes, see the structure of diethylstilbestrol, and just recollect. I told you that by having a double bond, or because there is a double bond, you are getting E and Z isomers. Okay. In general, you are getting isomers because of the addition of the double bond. So when you add a double bond, you get isomers, and both these isomers will not give you or may not give you the same pharmacological activity. Probably one is toxic, the other one is not toxic. One is having good pharmacological activity, the other one does not have any pharmacological activity at all. Okay. Or if both are showing same pharmacological activity, one may be better than the other, or both of them may show completely different pharmacological effects. Okay. So this is a very good example that you should quote in this case of when there is imparting a degree of saturation in the structure. What happens? What happens is you get isomers like in diethylstilbestrol, and one isomer, because it binds well to the receptor, is having a better activity as compared to the other isomer. Okay. So you surely quote this example when you are writing it in the exam, that what does degree of saturation do? It gives you isomers. And how is the activity affected? Quote the example of diethylstilbestrol with its good and bad isomer. Okay. Now it is not necessary that always you will be adding a open chain carbon skeleton, or you will be only adding CH2CH2. You could replace a carbon skeleton completely with a heterocyclic ring system, or you could replace it with a benzene ring system, or the main benzene ring system that is probably present in your parent molecule. You could replace that with the heterocyclic ring system. So replacement, that is adding or probably removing also, will have different effects on the pharmacological property of that particular parent compound. So here you can quote the example again of chlorpromazine. Chlorpromazine has N-dimethyl, and this N-dimethyl is replaced by N-methylpiperazine ring system. Okay. So an open chain of carbon skeleton has been replaced by a heterocyclic ring system, which has 2 nitrogen atoms in the ring system, that is N-methylpiperazine. So replacing N-dimethyl in chlorpromazine is giving you N-methyl is giving you prochlorperazine, which is having N-methylpiperazine. Now if you go back to your antipsychotic agents, you will see that prochlorperazine is having improved antiemetic property, and it is a better drug as compared to chlorpromazine. Now why is this so? Is because addition of this particular methylpiperazine ring system makes the atom or makes the entire structure of the parent molecule a very rigid system, and because of its rigidity it binds well to the receptor, and probably even adding 2 nitrogens instead of having only one N-dimethyl. All these things improve the binding of the drug, and they may probably, because of that, the potency of the drug is also improving. Okay. So here in the case of adding or removing a ring system, how does it affect the drug? You can give the example of chlorpromazine and prochlorperazine. Structures of both these drugs are again there on slide 1, which is present in this mail as an attachment. Okay. So this was one effect, that adding a rigid ring system or a larger or a bulkier ring system helps the drug to bind well to the receptor, and because it binded well to the receptor, its potency also improvised. Now it is not necessary that you will always have this condition, or you will have always this effect when you are adding that particular ring system. Sometimes, because of the presence of a bulky ring system, you are probably protecting the drug from getting metabolized, or protecting it from first pass metabolism, or getting protection for the drug from a particular enzyme which will cause its destruction, and it will not allow the drug to do its necessary pharmacological action. Okay. For example, you know that we have penicillins, and these penicillins are susceptible, or they are sensitive to the presence of beta lactamase enzyme. So then we are adding beta lactamase enzyme inhibitors when we are prescribing penicillin, so that we protect that particular penicillin or penicillin-like compounds. You could also do this by adding a bulkier group to the penicillin structure itself. By adding this bulkier group to the penicillin structure, you will protect that penicillin from the beta lactamase enzyme, and the drug will not get metabolized easily, or will not get destroyed, and it will be able to give its antibacterial or antibiotic effect. Okay. So the example here you can quote is of diphenycillin. This structure of diphenycillin is given in I think slide number 5. You can check it out. This diphenycillin is resistant to beta lactamase, but benzyl penicillin is not resistant to beta lactamase. The reason is the presence of a bulkier ring system in diphenycillin, because of which it protects it from the beta lactamase enzyme. Okay.